It's the Friday Feels, and we're back with your first sip of the weekend. You're now tuned in to this week's episode of Your Happy Hour. I'm your host, Nicole Carmine, and it's amazing to have you here, joining me this week as we uncover the truths about being a human and a working professional. What are you up to this Friday? Well, whatever it is, this moment is just for you. Alrighty, we are back with another episode. A very, very big welcome to the Feel Space and the Your Happy Hour podcast. We are in the theme of February, which is called How to Honest It Up. A really, really important conversation that I think is pertinent for all of us in our journeys, and maybe becoming more and more so with everything that's happening in the world right now, and a lot of energy shifts that I'm sure we're all feeling, that's pushing us to be more honest with ourselves, but also with others around us as we journey. So today I have a really wonderful guest who I've also been recommended by one of our previous guests. So big shout out to Vincent, and thank you to him for putting us in touch. And I really want to welcome you to the Feel Space, Guidione Machava, and thank you so much for joining us here and having this conversation.
Thanks for having me, Nicole, and a pleasure being here. And a shout out to Vincent to put us together.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I thought maybe we could just start off with you telling me a little bit about your journey and the audience. Like, how did you get to living in Paris and being in France and doing what you're doing today?
So, I came to live in Paris specifically by accident, but in France by accident too. I remember applying for a job at Shopify, and but before applying for my job, I was running my company back in Mozambique, and I had a little bit of challenge. I was like, you know what? Let me go back to the job market. But at that time, I didn't want to apply to any company in Mozambique. So I decided to apply for international companies. And one of the companies that I applied to was Shopify because it was remote. And then I just came back to Mozambique because I was living in South Africa for a couple of years before. And I didn't want to leave Mozambique anymore. And I saw this job by Shopify remote. I was like, fantastic. I'm going to stay in my country finally. I applied for that and other 3 jobs. I got accepted, and I started the process. And after that, they asked me, when are you coming? I was like, coming where? Isn't this job remote? So coming to whatever country you want. It's EMEA remote, but you have to live somewhere in Europe. I was like, okay. And but then I had signed everything. I left the company I created before, so it was like, okay, seems like I have no option here. So I think I only stayed in Mozambique for 6-7 months maximum. So I had to pack my bags again and move to France. When I moved to France, I was living in Montpellier. But a few years down the line, I left Shopify. I left the other company that I joined after Shopify, decided to become an entrepreneur. But being an entrepreneur from Montpellier, which is in the south of France, it's a little bit hard. There you go more to live, not to work. The work-life balance is very well balanced, which means it's hard to start businesses. Yeah. And I came to Paris for a couple of days to see how things will go here. And I've been in Paris for 6 months, never returned.
I love that journey. I love that story. And I think the universe does that, right? It's like, this is where you're going to end up. Maybe you're going to take a little bit of a windy road to get there, and you'll figure it out along the way. But that's amazing. And so you do product design, and now you're an entrepreneur in that space. And I also know when you sent us the bio, you were saying that direct feedback is your love language. So I feel like that's really on point for this topic. So maybe just tell us a little bit about what you feel this theme means for you, but also in your journey as in what you do.
I think like a couple of days ago, I did this talk for Nigerian designers. They invited me to talk about like how to position themselves in like in a global space, or like how to become a world class designer. They say, and I ask questions in the audience what they think about that, and a lot of people say about skills and skills, exposure, network. I said you need to take a step back. It's about honesty. And they ask, what do you mean? I say, honesty. Honesty is about like you being able to be honest with yourself, like actually being able to self assess and know where you are and where you stand. Don't pretend that you know things you don't know. Don't pretend you're something that you're not. Like, it's honestly like you want to be this, right? Are you actually able or capable of doing that? You should go deep down, look in the mirror, and ask yourself if you're capable of doing that. Because there is one thing about being delusional and something else about being optimistic. So like you have to know your capabilities, like, and being honest with yourself. I think that is the first step, like towards becoming a world class designer. In my perspective, is like you have to check what are the people who you are aspiring to be do, and check if you're capable of like doing that. Example, I cannot be a basketball player. I'm relatively short, so that's like a reality check. So like it's like if you want to be like a product world class product designer, there is a few things you need to know. Example, how good is your visual taste? There are people who say you can learn, but you most likely will struggle to compete with people that naturally have good taste. So like it's about honesty, about knowing your limitations. I'm not saying that that should block anyone to do that, but knowing what you're capable of and what you're not capable of, it's even way more important. So honesty is like the way to move.
I think that's a really important point. And it's a bit like sometimes I've heard people say, like, envy helps you to know what you really want in your life. I think honesty really helps you to know, like, where to move next, excuse me, where to move next in your life. Because if you can be honest with yourself and then take accountability for where you are and say, hey, actually, okay, I do want to be a world-class designer. I do want to be X massive basketball player, whatever it is that you desire in your life. Where am I now, and what do I need to do to go there? But if you're not honest with yourself, then it's quite hard to take the next steps. It's quite hard to guide your journey. I mean, there's manifestation and there's like quantum leaping, but that's part of, you have to take the little steps to get there as well. So I think that's really an important point. So what's that look like for you in your journey? Like how have you been honest with yourself and to get where you are today?
If being honest with you, like if I told you that I knew this before, I'll be lying. I think it's a realization that I had over time. Those are things that I learned with time. I was a little bit delusional. To be honest, I am a little bit delusional because sometimes you believe you can build things that you're like, how actually you're gonna make this happen? You have no idea. It's important, but it's a very thin line between like how you make sure that you're honest and you keep believing in yourself. So like I think it's a process as you navigate through life and you're able to achieve the things you want, and you end up learning the price of you, there is something else. Where does the honest comes here into reality check is like a lot of people talk about wanting things, like achieving, so I want to do this. Like nobody talk about the cost of those things when you actually get there, because the stories of people that actually get there are very few relatively to the people that actually tried. um but when you get the example, like I do consider myself a world class designer, but if you ask me the price that I had to pay to be able to like achieve this level, to be able to work with the people that I had the pleasure to work with, like personally, mentally, physically, I'll be like, maybe not so much. And that helps you like double check on whatever you want next, because you end up learning how to balance whatever ambitions you have and the price that you have to pay. Because there's this thing we do is like when you want something, you'll be like, oh yeah, I want to do this. Like the next question that should come naturally is like, how much is that going to cost me? Not financially, but how much it's going to cost you? Because everyone says the universe gives, but nobody tells you that the universe also takes. So, why will the universe take in exchange?
I'm just really enjoying your giggle around this topic because it is a big one. Because I think it's a beautiful loop of energy, right? Like it's a
Mm-hmm.
cycle, and so you gotta give and you gotta take. It's the yin yang of life. But we very, I think sometimes we can be a little bit selfish with our energy and we don't give enough. And then sometimes we give too much. And it's like finding that balance, and finding that flow within yourself. But it's not easy. I think that's life's purpose, is trying to figure out that balance and within your life and in your journey. So that's a really good point. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so like, and I think like another point about honesty, I think honesty nowadays is so rare that when people are honest or try to be honest with each other, or with themselves, feel like it's an exorcism act, because like it's so painful. Like it's so painful. Yeah, like it's a yeah, it's a like it's the thing is with like we live today with this false positivity narrative that being true to yourself, that being true to yourself and being true to others end up like hurting more than helping, because I do believe that like being honest allows us, at least is the way I operate, allows us to be more efficient on how do we get things. Like when I said like honesty is my love language, if example, if I'm asking for feedback from someone, for anyone, I would rather the person like be straight with me right away. It's gonna hurt, yes, 100%, but I'd rather take it like I've learned over time to not take anything personally. I've learned that Shopify, that feedback is a gift. Sometimes it takes me like a little bit of time to accept, but I'd rather people be straight with me right away. It's actually what helped me improve and become better. Like, tell me the truth the way it is. Do not try to spend time, make it look pretty too, because you worry about my feelings. Because I'm more concerned with my results, my outputs, than how I'm gonna feel. Because like for me, that's it's a point of efficiency. Like, how do I become efficient? Like with reality, with things, just be straight.
Yeah, I think it's really hard because when I think of feedback, and I'm the same. I actually really prefer when people are direct with me, even though I come from South Africa, where we're like really subtle in how we talk about things, and you kind of have to guess what's the actual message. But I feel like because even just being in France, it's been such a wonderful, refreshing experience to have this directness, and people are okay with that, and you can be more of yourself in that way. But I find it's like a two-way street. Like you can be accepting of the feedback and want that honesty, but sometimes it's quite hard for the person giving the feedback to say it so directly and honestly because of their own experiences, their own, maybe it's from their family or something like that, where they haven't really learned how to communicate directly. Have you dealt with people like that? Like, have you had that experience where, like, you're okay to accept the honesty, but maybe that person is really struggling to give it to you?
Yes, I do all the time. But here's the thing: I try to balance the way I behave and who I surround myself with. I some super selective with my surroundings and whoever is on my network, whoever I'm talking to. One, because like my level of honesty can be offensive if you don't know me. So like I speak out loud sometimes a little bit too much. And I try to make sure that I'm in a safe environment where people will not take my words out of the context and they actually know me. So I am that person in my family. When I'm calling to a brother, people will be like, "Hey, I'm speaking in loudspeak." because, because they know I'll have to behave myself. I'll talk whatever comes to my mind, and like so I like most of the times I need to control that. So like I try to create my environment, but also when I can't, I make sure that I adjust my communication levels to the people that I'm with. It's not always easy. It requires me double effort, but like I'm very mindful that not everyone can take like direct feedback as much as I do. And to make my life efficient, I try to control how many people I talk to, like my close friends and the people that I work with. I try to be upfront with them like right away, saying, "Hey, I don't sugarcoat things. I go direct. You have a question." Like sometimes I respond in 2 sentences, and no, it's a complete answer for me. So do not expect me to explain. So like that's that type of things, and saying things, for example, like what do you think about this thing? What will you think about me? Also, like if I'm thinking of something about you, you will be the first to know because I do not make people guess what I'm thinking. And so like it's a little bit hard, but at the same time establish like certain level of trust. I'll give you an example. I have one of my cousins. She started going to the gym, she was starting feeling sexy and everyone saying, "Oh, you look good, like good shape." And she was struggling to believe every single person like that she knew. And she called me. First she sent me pictures and then she called me. "How do you think am I looking?" I was like, "Oh, you looking good." And then she said, "Now I believe." Because I am one of those few people that if you not look, I will tell you in your face. I'll tell you in your face. So like there is that positive part.
I love that. We need more of you in the world, honestly, because there's too much sugarcoating. But I think it is like you're right. You have to understand your audience. It's like when you do a presentation or you go through life, you have to understand who you're talking to and they have to understand you. I grew up with a dad who's like, he's so compassionate and kind, but the way he communicates on email and things like that, like he'll just reply to something and go like noted or proceed. It's like one word. He's an engineer. Like, I mean, it's just efficiency. And I think Johannesburg also, there's some energy there that's a bit more like that. So it's, for me, I got used to it, and even though I am more of a sensitive soul, but I think it's really quite interesting to have this conversation on the Feels podcast, which is talking about feelings and how we express those. And I think it's really indicative to me that it just reminds me that we are in control of our own feelings. You are the master of how you react to something, how you take it, how you accept it, how you give it. And so thanks for reminding us of that today. I think that's really, really important. And I'm curious also, like, have you had someone that's kind of mentored you through your journey to learn more how to be honest?
I would say like books mostly. I like growing up in Mozambique. I learned really early that if I want to succeed in life, I'll have to be, because I'm a very competitive person. I'll always find ways to win. Like I am that those type of guys that you do not want to compete with, because I'm very intensive. But like in my group of friends, I had people that were like good, better looking than me, taller than me, funnier than me. I ended up realizing that I was smarter than most of them. So I was like, okay, how do I do more of that? How do I become smarter? Like because of my competitive nature, like I started reading books, and I would read a book and I'll come talk to my friend. I'll realize that they did not know. I was like, ha, this is something. And I'll go read another one, and I became hooked. And like with books, I've read a lot of them, and you end up learning the like, because you read books when you are truth seeking, and when you're truth seeking, you end up learning like philosophy. Like everyone who reads book end up, if you complete the destination, you end up learning books about philosophy, because you end up realizing that those guys understand the world way better than most people. You will read a book about entrepreneurship. At the end, you end up realizing that, oh, this principle is actually stoicism, like masqueraded in something else, right? And if this guy is talking about stoicism of these old buzzwords, what if I go just read Marcus Aurelius directly, instead of like spending time with them? So like you do this journey of reading these bestsellers book that sells you a lot of like vitamin and no painkillers, and end up learning that okay, you're wasting time on this journey, and maybe the original writers are the ones that you should be spending more time with, you end up learning stoicism and all those things. So on that truth seeking journey, like you learn with people's biography, like about mistakes, about like how to navigate life, and you end up realizing that like honesty is like the way you end up doing things.
Mm. I love that. I love reading, and I agree with you. I think just going back to basics, those people spend time thinking about life, and not just thinking about it, like really feeling it and
Yeah.
being in it.
Yeah.
And I think maybe honesty comes back to the concept of intuition. Like really, when you're honest with yourself, you understand the insides of you. You listen to the insides of you. Like that's your guiding light. And I feel like a lot of the philosophers, they understood that concept. They understood how to like sit and be and listen. So I think that's really awesome. And we're going to chat about books in a second because I do have a little question for you on that. But I just want to take a quick moment to also kind of give a shout out to some of our collaborators that help us make this happen, and help us put all these honest conversations that we have out into the world. And that is rss.com. They are a distributing platform. And also to Blender Bomb Company, a very successful founding company in America, but also spread internationally. And they sell these very nutritious snacks. And so both of these companies have given our audience a very generous discount of 20% that you can DM us on the socials for. Thank you to them for doing that. And then we've also partnered with Be an eSIM, which is a fantastic eSIM, and it's called Best Network Ever. And it really is. It's been amazing for me and my journey. And we'll share a little bit more about that on the socials. But thank you to them for being part of our journeys. And then, Gideon, we want to do a little segment called the People, Places, and Spaces. And that is something that each week we choose a person or a space or organization that we feel have the feels. And so this week, my shout out goes to Soho House. I had the beautiful privilege of going to the one in Paris. It's not something I've done often. And I really had a wonderful time there. I attended a conversation with Shaka Live podcast. It was about female founders really talking quite honestly about their journey in filmmaking and how difficult it is, actually, as Black females in a filmmaking industry that is difficult in France, coming from different places. And I found like it was a really, really honest and open conversation, and I really, really enjoyed that. So thank you to them. Thank you for Soho House for hosting these wonderful events, and for the lady who invited me. So that's our shout out for the week. And then we do this thing called the gems. So that is like our moment to say what you learned this week, or maybe something that you felt gratitude for. And I'll start, and mine was, gosh, I guess just appreciating, I want to say the ordinary, but the ordinary being extraordinary for me. I had my birthday last week, and just every time you have a cycle around the sun, you think about your life, honestly, and you think about it truthfully, about where you are. And just thinking back to where I was last year and where I am now, and I felt so grateful to have a very ordinary day, but a really beautiful ordinary day that felt really extraordinary to me compared to what the journey has been. So thank you for all the love from everyone, and that was really a big gem for me. What has yours been?
I think like it was about learning about rejection. To be honest, like be reminded about rejection on a Saturday. I've learned. I met someone who said he got rejected 97 times, and it does cold calling, like for his company. It's a startup, and he said he makes 100 calls a day, and 97 of them is like no's. And I asked, how do you take that? I said, like, when I wake up, I'm just looking for the three people that are gonna tell me yes. I completely ignore everyone else. I was like, that's some tough skin there. Like, that's, yeah, like, because his mentality, according to him, was like, okay, this say no, this say no, this say no, this say no. Like, who are you, my yes guy? Who are you, my yes guy? So like, until guy. So like that switch mentality on like focus on the yes is like, and I told him like that is superpower. He said like, I just call people. I said like, that's not normal. Most of us can't
Yeah,
do that.
yeah. Oh, wow. Now that's a lot of like, yeah, deciding how you accept feedback. Right?
Yeah.
That's a really great gem. So, yeah, rejection is, I think, a lot of times people tell me rejection is like protection, and it's like kind of
Mhm.
the avenue to success. So, thanks for sharing that. And I have one more question for you,
Yes.
and that is what is on your stack? So, as an avid reader, is there one or two or more books that you could like to recommend to our audience? Maybe it's something you haven't even read yet, and I want to ask you what is in your stack.
Actually, there is two books that I would recommend people, which is will be like surprising for most people, especially the one that know me, because like I'm famous from being a very tough person, direct and emotionless. I try to be practical, but the two books that like I would recommend, one is The Little Prince by Antoine Saint-Exupéry.
Mm.
It's my all time favorite because that book just humbles you, like takes you to basics, makes you reflect about life in ways that I remember reading that book so many times. It's a very small book, by the way, and it just humbles you. And the second one is The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. It's someone like it's basically like it's a truth seeking guy trying to get somewhere, and the journey that he goes through, it's like very revealing, and it's like it's basically a journey to your soul. It allows you to look into the mirror, but in ways that you usually don't get that by any other way, like in my opinion. But like one thing about books that I would like to like flag here is most people might take the books that I just recommended and try to read and not connect with them. Something I would like to tell people is books are contextual. Example, if we start talking about Joburg and the distance between Joburg and Pretoria, most of audience will get, I think they're gonna get lost, or like, what is Joburg? Like Johannesburg. So that context that we have allows us to understand this conversation a little bit better. So those books are important for me, or they are my recommendation because there are things that I knew before. So by the time I read the book, they connect, right? So sometimes you will hear like a recommendation and you gonna go read the book and you'll be like, but this is like my book. But yeah, that meh is because there is a pieces of the story that you need to have to be able to make that experience like special to you. So like I'll be a little bit careful with like when people go read those books, and in terms of I'm just doing like expectation management here, which is aligned with the topic of today, like being talking about honesty and be truth seeking.
Yeah, I think that's really cool that you said that because I also believe a book has a time and place in your life, you know.
Yeah.
And sometimes someone will give you like a book for your birthday, and then like years later, you're like, oh, I'm ready to read this now, you know.
Mhm.
And so I feel like everyone has to kind of take that responsibility of like
Mhm.
knowing when they're ready and not forcing it. So thank you for saying that. And yeah, just a really big thank you for coming on and sharing so openly, so honestly, and of your heart. And yeah, you're a really amazing speaker, and I can kind of like feel like I can see the associations in your mind, like you give them to the conversation, which is really wonderful. So yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
All right. And for everyone else listening out there, I hope you have a fantastic week going forward. I hope you feel all the feels. We want to hear all the thoughts and feels that you have about this topic. Where are you not being honest with yourself? Where is honesty challenging you in your next journey? We're just sending you all the love. If you haven't just yet, follow Friday Feels on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and LinkedIn. You can share with us all your feels this week by tagging us at fridayfeels.co. And you can also find the website at that handle. And now, as you ease into this weekend, take a moment. Celebrate who you've become what you've overcome, and what is yet to come as you do the crazy and cool things that you do as the authentic you. You know, the truth about life and work is that it's hard, but the beauty is this global working experience that you're in, well, we earn it together. So keep connecting, empowering, and inspiring this week. And of course, keep it raw and real. Until next time.